Hello Divination and welcome. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create an animated promo bar for your page templates in Divi. This is the final result we're aiming to achieve. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. All right, so right now I'm in my admin dashboard. So the first thing we need to do is to head over here to Divi, just mouse over it and then click on Theme Builder. Next, you want to come over here where it says Add New Template. Click on this plus button. Now you can actually specify where you want to have this promo bar. So you can have it on a home page, landing page, on a specific page. Now to do that, you just have to mouse over here and then it gives you all the pages that you have here on your website. So I'm just going to have mine on the home page. So I'm going to go ahead and put a check mark in homepage. Click on create template. Now I'm going to click on add custom body because this is where it's going to be. So I'm going to click here and then build custom body. So with this design, I'm going to build this from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and click on build from scratch. So I'm going to have a single column here. And before I can add any elements in here, I'm just going to close this and then go into my row settings. Now what I need to do here is to add my background colors. So I'm going to click here on background. Click on the second tab, and then this is where we need to add a gradient color. Click on the plus button, and I'm going to add my first color here. So I'm just going to replace this color here with mine. And by the way, if you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. So moving on, I'm going to add my second color here. So again, I'm going to click on the color, place the color. Now over here, make sure it's set to linear gradient, and then for the direction we're going to set this to 90 degrees. And then over here on design, we need to come over here to sizing, and here we have use custom gutter width activated. In your case, if it's not activated, please make sure you click yes. And then we want to reduce the gutter width here to 1, and then we want to set the width here to 100%. And also on the maximum width, we need to make sure this is set to 100% as well. Now the reason why we're doing this is because we want this to be edge to edge. We don't want this showing like halfway on the page. We want this to be across the whole page. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to add our padding. So I'm going to come over here, click on spacing, and then I'm going to add 0 to my padding to the top and the bottom. Right, so the next stage is to add a bit of CSS code. So I'm going to come back over here to the content tab, and we need to add the code here in the column. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon and go to the advanced tab, custom CSS. And this CSS code is going to be in the main element. I'm going to go ahead now and save one more time. Next, I'm going to come over here and add our blurb module. So I'm just going to click on it. Right, so this is where now we can start adding all our content. So here on the title is where you need to add your promo text. So I'm just going to use some dummy text here, but in your case, this is where you want to add your promo text, which of course is promoting whatever products people need to buy, or if they need to sign up, that's where the information goes. All right, so the next thing we need to do here is to get rid of all this text. And then we want to come over here to image an icon and click on use icon. So I'm going to choose an icon to go with here, but in your case, you can choose whatever icon that works with your promo. So I'm just going to look for, okay, here we go. Here's my icon. Now it's time to customize our icon and our text. So I'm going to click here on the design tab and then image an icon. So the first thing we need to do here is to add our icon color. So I'm just going to paste my color in here. And as I mentioned before, if you want to use the exact same colors that I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. All right, so the next thing we need to do here is to adjust our icon placement. Right now it's placed at the top. We want it placed to the left like that. All right, moving on, we need to add the icon size. So right now it's set to 54. It needs to be way smaller than that. So we're going to add 16 pixels here. And for the title text, we're going to set this to 16 pixels as well. And then moving on to the line height, we're going to set this to 1.3. So the next thing we need to adjust is the padding to the top. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here to spacing. So for our padding, we're going to add 10 pixels. So now you can see it's nice and centered. Now moving on, we need to add a bit of animation onto this. So we're going to come over here to animation. Our animation style is going to be slide, and it needs to slide right. So I'm going to choose right here. And for the animation delay, I'm going to set it to 250 milliseconds. Now, as you can see, my text here is quite difficult to read, so I need to go and adjust that. So I'm going to click here on this brush tool. So this is going to take me to my title text color, change this to white. and then I'm going to save. Next, I'm going to add another module. So I'm going to click here on this plus button, and this time the module is going to be a button. So this is going to act as our call to action button. So there we go. We've got our call to action button. So you can also add some text that you may want to add in here for your call to action. But for this example, I'm just going to leave this as it is. All right. So moving on, we need to adjust this or customize this button, make it look nice. But before we do that, we need to come over here to link and add our button link. So right now I'm just going to add a blank link, but in your case, you want to make sure you add a link to the page that you're promoting. All right, so now we can go to design, button, and then in order for us to customize this button, we need to activate use custom styles for button. Right, so now we can go in and start editing this. So first of all, we're going to start here with our size. So we're going to set this to 15 pixels. For our button text color, we're going to set this to white. Moving on, so here on the border radius, we're going to set this to 20. And for our border width, I'm going to set this to 0. And then for the button font weight, we need to set this to semi-bold. Now for the button to show, it needs to have a background color. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this color here. In fact, it needs to be here. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and set my background color. Right. So as you can see, this button is way too close to my text here. So we need to make a few adjustments to that. So we're going to scroll all the way down here to spacing. And the first thing we need to do is to add margin of 20 pixels to the left. So this is just going to create a space between my button and my text. And then over here for the padding top and bottom, we're going to set this to 0 pixels. So both to the top and the bottom. Now let's head over here to the animation. So the animation style we're going to use here is bounce. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And the delay is going to be 1000 milliseconds. So pretty much this is all we need to do here with our modules. I'm going to go ahead and save. And then we also need to work on our section settings. So I'm going to click here on this gear icon to go into my section settings. So we're going to start off with the padding. So over here, click on spacing. So the padding here is going to be 0, both to the top and the bottom. So I'm going to activate this chain. So the same value can be applied both to the top and the bottom. We're also going to add an animation style. So I'm going to come over here, and the style we're going to go with is bounce. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, and the direction needs to be set to down. So I'm going to select down. The animation duration is going to be 500 milliseconds. The delay is going to be 250. And let's also set the starting opacity. So here we're going to bring it all the way up to 100%. And then because we want this to be above everything on the page, we are going to need to come over here to advanced, visibility, and set our Z index all the way up to, I'll just put it as 999. So that means that this bar is going to be above everything on our page. If we save this template, all it's going to do is it's going to show this promo bar, and that's it on the page. So what we need to do next is to add our post content. So this post content area here is going to display whatever it is on our homepage. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to come over here and add a new section, and this is going to be a full width section, and this full width section is going to be a full post content. Go ahead and select that. So pretty much this is where our content is going to be, and all the settings that we have here is what's going to display the content on the page. All right, so now that I have all this information saved, I'm just going to save this one more time, and then I'm going to exit and save changes. So now let's take a look at the page. So there we go. So this is our promo bar, and all the content on our page is actually showing. Now, as you can see, when I scroll, this promo bar disappears with the content under the header. So what we can actually do is we can add a bit of CSS code and make this sticky. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm back over here. I'm going to click on this pencil icon to go into my settings. And all I have to do here is to head over here to the top on my section settings, click on the gear icon, click on advanced, custom CSS. And this is the CSS code we're going to add on our main element. So once we've done that, click on save this one more time. And then we're just going to close this. And now we're going to save this and review the page. So I'm going to refresh the page. Now there we go. So you can see now it is fixed. Now all the CSS code can be found in the post, which I'll link to in the show notes below. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified every time we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.